Well, here we are on a Wednesday night. We're one day closer to the weekend, and I can't wait to get this thing over with. We have the first winter storm watches up from New Mexico to Virginia. We also have bitter cold air that's coming into the plains with the cold weather warnings and blizzard warnings and high wind warnings. It is a winter map, and we're going to put it all together for you right here tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Shop on Amazon using our referral link that's on the description to this podcast on YouTube, because when you do, it keeps commercials off the live Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. All you got to do is click and shop. Amazon throws us some coin for sending you there. It doesn't cost you 1 cent out of your pocket, and it's an easy, simple way to support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is pinned to the top of the chat board and also on the description to this podcast. And use a coupon code. We have a special Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast coupon code that only Joe Rayo knows. I, I no doubt, and many have taken advantage of it. All right, Mr. Rayo. Apparently, your volume is a problem tonight. So let me see what we can do. Uh, Go ahead and talk to me.
Hello,
Now
one,
you're
two,
there. Okay,
three.
so what Joe was saying that he didn't, that we have a coupon code, and he wasn't keeping it a secret. Okay, the coupon code for the Tempest Weather by Weatherflow is Winter
Winter
2026. And if
2026.
you use it, you get 10% off. Okay.
Yes,
Well, we
yes.
started the show off on a good note with a technical failure. That's always something. Okay. Um, I got a question for you. You and
Yes.
I, you and I worked in television for many years. I was racking my brains out. I have never ever put out a snow forecast on air 4 days in advance of a storm. Have you?
No, I've made allusions to what a storm 4 days out might bring if everything fell into place, but I've never, for example, put a snow map up. I just, and you get around it by saying we could have as much as several inches or more, and I leave it up to the viewer as to
Bingo.
exactly the definition of what several might be.
Right. I would use, potential for a few or more or several or more, but I don't think I've ever put out numbers uh, on TV. And I bring this up, Joe, because I'm watching, I'm doing my work today. I'm looking at feeds, and it's not only the uh, putting up of numbers, and I guess that's how TV works these days, because I don't watch, but putting up numbers 4 days in advance, which to me is just absolutely mind-boggling. I think I would never put up numbers, usually never put up numbers until maybe there was a winter storm watch up.
The new game now on television is forecasters who up to a week in advance will tell you that there's a potential big storm, and then they start showing you the rows of numbers from the various guidance models.
Right.
Well, the NAM, well, not the NAM because the NAM doesn't go out a week, but but the GFS is saying that we could see 1.6 inches. But look at the graph, the GRAF model. It's saying 4.2. The European is saying 8.3, and this month, and the only thing that happens when you see a weather forecaster do something like that is that he is doing you a complete and total disservice
Well,
because those numbers are going to change.
yeah,
There's no way that you can say with any precision or any exact quality of
Right.
what it's going to be a week in advance.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it's not even just that. Now it's the models. Let's put do a Facebook post or a social media post as every single model comes out, and they come out every 6 hours. The European comes out usually about 2 hours after the 2 to 2.5 hours after the GFS. So it's this constant eh, you know, model casting that's going on days and days ahead of time. I think it just absolutely puts people in a total frenzy because they're getting thrown all these numbers, and of course they only remember there are only certain numbers that they remember, and I think one of those numbers is 12. Okay,
Right,
if you put
right.
12 in there, they always remember 12. But it's just so out of control, and I resent being kind of locked into that afterward when people come back and they're angry about one thing or another. But we speculate here and we'll talk in generalities. Um, so that's what we're going to do. I'm not putting up any numbers until tomorrow. Tomorrow night, I probably will have an early call because it's 72 hours, and I think that's fair. That's fine. At that point, you should have at least some idea of what's going to happen. So we'll have an early call up tomorrow night. In the meantime, Joe and I are going to speculate on things and throw out possibilities, but I think it just does such a big disservice to be doing putting out numbers 4 days out. I think
I
all it does is make you look foolish because it
on my
goes.
Facebook on my Facebook page, I did say I didn't put a map up, but I did say guidance has come into better agreement on the winter storm track for Sunday into early Monday, and the latest probabilistic guidance for amounts of a half a foot or greater have increased now to 60% across much of eastern New York and western New England. So, that having been said, from my viewpoint right now, is that there's a 60% chance that many people, and this is for the lower Hudson Valley, I should also add, for the lower Hudson Valley or much of eastern New York, um, I think the chances for 6 inches or more, there's a 60% chance of that occurring, and it may very well go up in the days to come, or it might go
Might
down.
go down. It
Yeah,
might go down.
it's just mine. And here's something else, Joe, that is now entering the picture, rearing its ugly head for our friends who live along the Jersey Shore. And I know that Alan Casper is going to be looking at specifically the forecasts for the Jersey shoreline when he's with us on Friday. But here's something real kicking ahead to all of you snow weather weenies along the Jersey Shore and along the south coast of Long Island. There may be some mixing, or maybe even a change over to rain, perhaps, believe it or not, at the height of the storm on Sunday,
Well,
because we're seeing
it may come after the vast majority of the snow is dumped.
it may, and then again, it may not. Who
Well,
knows?
I think
They're talking about
I
four
think
four days in advance. I don't know what's
right.
exactly going to happen yet.
I think that they'll most places are going to wind up putting down a sizable amount of snow. You can decide for yourself whether the sizable what that means, and then maybe it goes and probably maybe some mixing, maybe some places in South Coastal and South Jersey may go to rain before it ends, and it might even go to a mix of freezing rain and sleet on Long Island and New York City before it ends. But there's going to be a solid 6 to 8 hour snowfall ahead of that.
Well, you
And
remember the first of the two big winter storms of '78, not the blizzard of '78, but the one that came on January 20th. That was the one, Joe, if you remember, was going to be mainly rain. It was going to start as a little bit of snow and then change to rain. And then over the course of the night, that night, the forecast went from an inch or two, followed by heavy rain. Then they went 2 to 4 inches of snow, followed by a change to rain.
right,
Then 6 to 8
then
inches,
six
followed
to
by a
eight,
change to rain.
yes,
And guess what? It did change to rain, but not
right,
after about 14 or 15 inches of snow had
right.
accumulated. So you're right. It could go in that direction.
Yeah. So let's get into this. First off, we got another big audience tonight, which is great. You need to ring the bell because we already have 100 likes. Ring the bell.
Wait a minute. I just want to get my own. Okay. I just want to see my own counter. 123. Yes. Here
Yes.
we go.
Yeah. Well,
Last night before we went off the air, we had 500 and a total of 700 for the show overall during the overnight last night into early today.
all right. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board. Welcome to those of you who are new to our the YouTube channel, mine, and and you're looking in the background or you're on the chat board. It's all good. And we're here usually Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. But we have some scheduled additions uh, to talk about. We are going to have a show on Friday night, and it should be a really fun show because we're going to have Dave Tolerus, who was here yesterday, and we had a wonderful time with him. Extremely informative with everything that's been going on. So Dave Tolerus will be here. Alan Casper, for those of you who are old enough to remember, New Jersey 101.5, and in prior times, Fox 5 in New York, and before it was Fox 5, and WCBS back in the late 70s. He's going to be here. And Bill Goodman is going to join us too. So Mr.
Fantastic.
Goodman is going to be on. He just messaged me and said yes to my invitation, and I don't have to send him a cheese platter. So I'm very happy about that. So everybody, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. If you like the show, hit the like button because we love getting to 100 likes, which we already did. Last night we got to what, 300, 400?
We had we had we had 500 before we
500,
signed off last
500,
night.
yes.
Yeah. And
So there you go.
before we move forward, please, Harold Olson, please. Yeah, I know most of the time we have a lot of fun here on the on Joe and Joe, and we talk about stuff other than weather. But now we're locked in on weather. We're going to be locked in fully on weather over the next 4 or 5 days. So after this mayhem is over, I will then take some time out of my schedule to answer your question about what Teddy Olbermann did for a living. So that having been said, let's move back forward to weather. We're already up to 195,
Wonderful. Okay.
196 likes.
Let's
The
start with
counters.
let's start with going around the country. We've got getting viewers from all over the place, which is wonderful. We've got winter storm watches up in from New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, the southern half of Kansas and Missouri and Illinois, all of Arkansas, the northern half of Louisiana, a good chunk of northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, including me. I'm under a winter storm watch here. Tennessee, Kentucky, southernmost, or 200
200.
likes.
Yeah.
Southernmost Indiana and Ohio, West Virginia, Western Virginia, and Western and Central North Carolina and Northwestern South Carolina. Now, I would suspect that I would think that either, maybe because of all the attention this is getting, that they may start putting watches up tomorrow night. At the latest, I'm guessing is Friday morning. That's just a guess on my part as far as what the weather services, Mount Holly and New Jersey and Upton on Long Island are going to do. Meanwhile, tonight we have some winter weather advisories. Where else? Western New York, North Central New York, a couple of winter storm warnings up there still, and then down into the Appalachians into West Virginia. In the upper Midwest, that beautiful shade of blue is extreme cold warnings that are up, or extreme cold watches, one or the other. Either way,
I've never heard of an extreme cold watch or warning. And I'm saying to Renata, I said, do you think the folks over at these forecast offices are making all of this up on the fly? I've never heard of this before.
No, that was something they instituted, I think, a year or two ago. There
Okay.
just haven't been as many extreme cold air masses as what we're seeing right now, so it didn't get used all that much.
Granted,
And that is an extreme cold warning. That's up for the Dakotas and for North Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and there's probably more coming. Blizzard warnings are up in northern, central, and northeastern Iowa tonight. And we also have some high wind warnings and wind advisories there. Not much weather going on in the west because everything is happening in the east. The west is enjoying a long stretch of non-winter for the most part. And we'll take a look at tonight's surface map. We've got a warm front to our south into the first of two cold fronts, one cutting through Michigan, and then we've got the Arctic front that is behind that and is moving southward. And there's still yet another one up to the north in Canada that's got the really bitter air. And all of these are going to be playing through in the next couple of days. But they're going to be playing through, Joe, with not much fanfare. There are some snow. There is some light snow going on and some flurries around New York City. At least they were in the last hour, and also across parts of Connecticut. Um, but they're not really amounting to much as this warm front is pushing northward, and that sets up for what should be a really. It might be the last above normal day for quite a while tomorrow.
Absolutely. No, I just told Renata before coming down here, I said, enjoy tomorrow, savor tomorrow, because the next time we see temperatures along the lines of low to mid 40s here, and by the way, Joe, we got down to 2 degrees above zero just before 7 a.m. this morning
Wow.
here at the home base. But the next time we see temperatures equivalent to tomorrow, low to mid 40s, may very well come sometime in the second week of February. That's a long, long way to go. Till then, it's going to be cold with a capital letter C, and may even get colder. We're going to have one shot of very cold weather the start of the weekend, but there may be another waiting in the wings to move in sometime later next week.
Joseph Carr, thanks for the tip jar hit tonight. Most appreciated. Thank you for hitting super chat. Out in the west, as we said, not much happening. In the south, we've got this lead front actually does have some showers with it. And we'll take a look at the radar as of 7:51 Eastern Time. First off, you can see here in the Northeast, there's this east-west band of light snows from Maine across Massachusetts and Connecticut to about New York City, cutting across north-central New Jersey. Actually, between 195 and 78, closer to 78, Interstate 78, and then in through southern Pennsylvania, and then we go further south. And this is waiting to come through my area with here in North Georgia with rain showers that are pushing eastward, and even a few heavier downpours in parts of Alabama and down into Louisiana. A little bit of rain. There's an upper low, and this is the energy, some of the energy that's going to be setting off the storm system we're going to be dealing with. And it's pushing in some rain into coastal areas of California. You see it here. But that is the big player going forward. And here's just a quick look at the satellite loop tonight, and you can see how the cloud structures are and the rotation that's off the coast of California. Again, that's the energy, and plus we've got northern stream energy that's going to be coming down and is going to have an impact on all of this. Now, WPC, since it looks as if at the moment that this is the only thing that's happening over the next 7 days, so this is all about this. There's the frontal boundary and the low that's going to develop on it. But they're forecasting a half an inch of liquid. Now, think about this, Joe. Just a few days ago, the concern was that the precip wouldn't make it far enough north. Half an inch of liquid goes all the way up into upstate New York, north of I-90 to southern Vermont and New Hampshire. And then you've got 3/4 of an inch to an inch as you head south. You get toward New York City, to north of Trenton, you're in a zone of an inch to an inch and a quarter. The next color is an inch and a quarter to an inch and a half of liquid, and right along the New Jersey coast, an inch and a half of liquid plus. And then in areas across the lower Ohio Valley and the deep south, where freezing rain is going to be a big issue, we're looking at liquid precip amounts totaling 2.5 to as much as 3 inches in some places, and that includes me. So I am praying that now I have elevation here. I'm 2,200 feet up, so but there's a lot of mountains here, but there are also a lot of valleys, and cold air is going to get trapped. But I'm just praying that these numbers are too high because the icing issue across the deep south will be extremely serious, depending on how this all plays out. All right, a couple of things from WPC I want to show. First off, this is the probability. This is from now until Saturday evening. It's the probability of at least an inch of snow, and that covers Colorado, New Mexico, Northwest Texas, A good chunk of Oklahoma. That red area you see is 95 to 100%, and 90 to 95% probability going into northern Tennessee and into Kentucky. I'm going to change it to 4. And here's the probability of at least 4. The blue is 40%. And usually, as a forecaster, I'll use that blue line as a guidepost for where I would put a 4-inch line. Even though the probability is under 50, it's 40. But it's been my experience that with respect to WPC's forecast, more times than not, the darkest blue line of 40% is a good place to put your border for the 4 inches. So that covers uh, central and northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas, southwest Missouri, northwest Arkansas, and also a good chunk of the state of Kentucky into West Virginia. Again, this is only through Saturday evening. And then WPPC for Sunday has we don't see this too many times, a 70 to 90% chance, because it's still in the long range for them. This is still the day 5. So we won't get on that first map that I showed you until Friday. But here you go. You got, actually, we'll probably get, yeah, no, we'll have to wait till tomorrow night. It'll go to Sunday evening. But here you go. 70 to 90% probability for, and let's get it rounded off because they go a quarter of an inch of liquid equivalent of snow or sleet. But it pretty much, this area that they've got in that light blue is going to get 3 inches or more. So a 70 to 90% chance that there's going to be at least 3 inches in central and eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, down into Maryland, Delaware, northeastern Virginia. So that includes Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Long Island, all the way up the entire Hudson Valley to Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. So we're all busy. Now, okay, so what model do you want me to start with?
Um, well, you could look at the GFS if you'd like.
All right, so let's
Um,
do that. Let's do now. The GFS had a hiccup yesterday, if everybody remembers it. During the midday run that came in, it decided that it was going to suppress everything down to the the Gulf of America, or the Gulf of Mexico, whatever you want to call it. Um, so this is the 18Z run, and was kind of interesting to me, Joe, because a little bit of that suppression seems to be showing up again in for Sunday. Now, here's how everything evolves. First of all, this front goes by and we're done. Precip wise, not much is going to be happening across the country except around the Great Lakes for Thursday into Friday. Bitter cold air is coming down, starts to come down on Friday, and when you wake up Saturday morning, much of the Northeast is going to be in the Arctic tundra. And that cold air is going to bleed down into the deep south. Not the bitter cold air, but uh, temperatures below freezing down into northern Alabama and Georgia and in North Texas. And you can see that the model's begins to generate freezing rain in Texas, snow on the northern flank of this into Oklahoma and Arkansas. Big dome of high pressure up into Wisconsin, Arctic high. And then as we move through the day on Saturday, the precipitation begins to expand eastward. And then Saturday night and Sunday, it turns more northward. And we start to get into some snow. Now, each model has its own timing issue. The GFS is slower than the European. European is faster. It brings snow in. But one of the things that this run does, Joe, is the surface low, you see it developing there, is a little more to the southeast, and it gives mostly snow to all the way. It doesn't have any mixing issues, and we'll explain why when we get to some of the other models. But it does have a bit more of a flattish look late this afternoon or this evening. I don't know whether I'm willing to accept this or not. It's not as radical as yesterday. The fact is there makes me think that makes me get into my mind when we do the next run model cycle, are the other models are going to try and show something similar? I don't know. But I mean, this brings up accumulating snows. It doesn't uh, it doesn't go crazy with respect to the snow amounts, but it keeps it mostly snow. I don't know how you see this, Joe. You want to jump in here?
It's you know the if you want the jackpot for a big snowstorm here in the immediate tri-state area, you want to see the low pass over or very close to what we call the benchmark, 40 degrees north latitude, 70 degrees west longitude. When the storms pass in that vicinity, and in fact, one of the professors that Joe and I had at City University, Jerome Spar, used to refer to that as the snow box. If you can get the storm, the aforementioned winter storm we're looking at right now, if you can somehow get it into the zone of 40, 70, give or take a degree or two either way, in a box, let's say, that is generally making reference to storms that could drop as much as a foot or more on the tri-state area. Now, you're right, Joe. This particular run seems to be pushing the storm a bit to the south and to the east of the 4070 area. Also, the other thing I think that should be pointed out is that this storm is not going to close off. When you get a storm system where the upper air and the surface low pressure systems become what we call vertically stacked, the storm slows down. And when you get a storm that slows down, you get snow for a very long period of time. Case in point, the 1978 blizzard, which dumped over 2 feet of snow on the New York City area. This seems to be like a relatively modest low pressure system that is squirting, if I can use that term, north and east underneath a humongous cold dome of high pressure. And the fact that it's moving relatively rapidly suggests to me, and as it does pass just to the south of the 4070 benchmark, that we may get a foot or more of snow. We might get something more like 6 to 12 or 6 to 10. But again, we're still 4 days out. There's still plenty of time for the models to adjust this either north of the current track and maybe even try to slow it down. Who knows? The cold high may try to cradle itself around the low and slow it down a bit. Again, we're talking about an event that's still 4 days away, and a lot can happen. I will say though that tomorrow we will probably get, with the 12Z run tomorrow, we'll probably get a very, very, very good idea as to what this is going to do, because then we're going to be within 3 days of the storm's arrival here. And generally, within 3 days, by then, a lot of the data on the western United States, the West Coast, coming in and being inputted into the storm from both buoys adjacent to the Pacific coast and from land sites over California, the southwestern U.S., and also up north, the northern stream system, the one that's going to supply the energy. We've got the northern stream supplying the energy, the southern stream supplying the moisture. You get a teleconnection, boom, you're home to the races in terms of getting a significant precipitation event. But right now, we know that there's going to be a significant snowfall. We know that you're going to need your snow blowers and snow shovels. The only question is, how long is it going to last? And also, how much are we going to get? Also, and I want to show this, Joe, unless you want to show it yourself to everybody,
What's
is
that?
the FGen or Omega maps.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you do that?
Well, before we get into that, I wanted to, can we backtrack a bit? Because I just want to talk about,
Yeah,
and I have it on my screen here.
blow
This
it,
is
blow it up, make it bigger.
this is
Make
the
it.
W.
Can you make it even bigger?
I can try. Hang on. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. How's that?
One more.
One more boom.
Yeah.
One more boom. Let's. This is now 200%.
Okay. There you
How's
go.
that?
That's good.
All right. So this map is from the WPC, the Weather Prediction Center. It is the day 3. This is as far as they go on this particular run here. Probability of ice that is equal or greater than 1/4 of an inch. And let me tell you, you get 1/4 of an inch or more of ice on trees and power lines, you in big, big trouble. So the probabilities go this way. The blue zone is for 10 to 40% probability of 1/4 of an inch or more of ice. The green zone is for 40 to 70, and the red zones, and you see that in northeastern sections of Texas, right along the Louisiana, Arkansas border, and on into portions of northern Mississippi. That is where you have a 70 to 100% chance of a quarter inch or more of ice. But generally, take it this way. This entire swath that you see here, likely from Friday night through Saturday night, Friday night 7 p.m. Eastern Time to Saturday night 7 p.m. Eastern Time, this whole swath is likely going to be undergoing ice storm conditions. Joe, you live right here, so I'm not sure yet what they're going to
Yeah, I'm
suggest
not.
for your area.
I'm to the east of their the blue.
Yeah,
Because
but
this goes to Saturday evening. So for
so
me,
tomorrow night, day three will extend into Sunday at 7
right.
p.m. And by then, I fully expect that we're going to see that swath of ice cover much of Tennessee, North Carolina, portions of northern South Carolina, and also northern Georgia. And again, that's what they are saying at WPC in terms of icy conditions for the upcoming event. Now, let me just shrink this down quickly and get out of it, and then I'm going to go over to the uh, tropical tidbits
Okay.
and show you the area of FGen, or what we call omega, atmospheric energy. That I think is going to be a key to this in terms of how intense this storm is going to be, and also um, I want to just get the regions up here. Sorry about that, folks. Let me just get the right area, the Northeast U.S. That's what we're interested in. Also, want to get to lower dynamics, 700 millibar FGen. And now, Joe, I'm going to go back to your Zoom screen and get the share button pushed. And here we are. And I'm going to blow that up too again. Boom, like that. So this way everybody gets a good wide view of it.
There you go.
Now, this is 7 p.m. on this is 0Z Thursday, so this is 7 p.m. on Wednesday. So we want to move forward here a bit. This is the 18Z GFS run, and so here this is now 7 p.m. Saturday. Here is the FGen, or atmospheric energy. Now this may give us a clue as to where banding is going to occur. We have in recent years been trying to figure out during snowstorms where the heaviest snow bands are going to be. Also, going hand in hand in that would be convection, thunderstorms, or thunder snows, if you will. So we get that, and you could see areas getting 1 to 2, 2 to 3, even 4 inches per hour in this zone of where the FGen, or the omega, is at its worst, or if you want to look at it from the standpoint of a snow lover, where it's at its best. 7 p.m. on Sunday, 7 p.m. on Saturday evening, this is where it's going to be, down across southern Virginia. We move forward to 1 a.m. on Sunday, and notice now the contours are so tightly packed together that they blend into one dark red, or beet red blur, if you will, over the Virginia coast. Now we see it moving. Now notice a lot of the activity, a lot of the energy now, according to the GFS, is from the immediate coastal plain out to sea. And here's all of that FGen now occurring just to the south of New Jersey. Now as we move up to 1 p.m. on Sunday, notice the lion's share of the FGen, now this again is the 18Z of the GFS, most of it is out to sea. Some of it, like a finger, is reaching into Long Island, and then you see a bit of FGen here across Connecticut and across the lower Hudson Valley. And then, and this is what you were talking about, Joe, with the 18Z GFS, how it looks like it's trying to become more suppressed or more to the south. And then by the time we get to 0Z Monday, all the good stuff, according to the GFS, is way, way out to the east. And whatever we get supposedly in terms of precipitation at that time still probably will be snowing, But if you want the really heavy duty stuff, it may not necessarily be occurring because, again, all of the energy has now shifted away to the east. Now that's the 18Z GFS. Let me just show you the what the European was saying, and I'm going to go back now to let's say 75 hours. This now is 4 p.m. on Saturday. This is 7 p.m. on Saturday. This is 10 p.m. on Saturday. 1 a.m. on Sunday. You can see now here comes some of that energy that's beginning to emerge and take form over Virginia. Now we see it's over Virginia and West Virginia. By 12Z Sunday, it's kind of it's getting its act together, but it's still kind of in somewhat of a disarray. But now watch what happens between 7 a.m. on Sunday and 1 p.m. on Sunday. Look what's happening. The FGen now is starting to get its act together over southeastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, and then as we move to 7 p.m. on Sunday, look at the. Actually, this is 1 p.m. on Sunday. 1 p.m. on Sunday. Look at this. We're at Long Island, northern New Jersey, New York, the lower Hudson Valley, and extending out to sea. This is a really potent area of atmospheric energy. I tell you now, Joe, if this were to verify, we would be seeing some really heavy snow bands evolve in this area here. And don't underestimate convection. Oh, yes, you could very well see thunder snows occurring here. And if you get thunder snows, you know that you can pick up a quickie 2, 3, 4 inches in 1 hour. So
by the way, just to throw in a little context with respect to what you're showing, when you look at what the European generated in terms of precip with all that energy, generally put down from southern New Jersey, actually even going down into Delaware and southeastern Pennsylvania and northward, a solid 6 to 10 inches in that streak. Now, I'm not forecasting that specifically. I'm just saying what you're seeing here on the FGen, what the outcome was on the European, which I'll show you momentarily, was a pretty much area-wide 6 to 10 inch snowfall.
And that seems to line up with what the Omega or the FGen is suggesting here. And I might point out this is the 18Z run of the European. So we're looking at the intermediate GFS and the intermediate run of the European, and you can see that they're almost like night and day. The GFS 18Z had a lot of this out to sea and just barely touching the coastline, the coastal plain, and also it was seemingly faster than the 18Z European. Now this is 4 p.m. on the European on Sunday, and by 7 p.m. again, all of the heavy-duty stuff is way off to the north and east. So if you were to take this at face value, and again, let me point out, we're talking now 100 hours or more into the future. If you were to take this at face value and say this is what's going to happen, then it would appear that from late morning into the early afternoon on Sunday, that is when the snow is going to be coming down, again, in the immediate New York City area, hot and heavy. And there may be some rumbles of thunder. There may be some heavy snow bands shaping up or setting up in places, dumping 2, 3 inches of snow per hour. All of that is based upon these two runs of this run of the European, the 18Z run. Again, we have lots more runs to look at and a lot more revisions that are going to be coming into play. But again, I think once we get past tomorrow, everything is going to be coming more and more into focus. You want to see all the guidance models get on the same page, so to speak. As I said yesterday, I used the analogy of the Wizard of Oz, the Dorothy, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, the Lion, all waltzing down the yellow brick road. Well, our yellow road is 4 days down the road toward Sunday, and you want to see each one of those characters signifying a model, a guidance model. Let's say the GFS, the European, the Canadian model, the Icon. Tomorrow, the NAM gets into the act because we'll be within 84 hours, and right. The NAM will be able to start sampling and providing some guidance as to what it expects out of this. So things are going to get a lot clearer to forecasters beginning tomorrow. And when you and I, Joe, and Bill Goodman, and Alan Casper, and Dave Tolleris, when we're all together on Friday night, hopefully all of these models will be together and we'll be able to provide our viewers with a very confident, so he says, confident idea as to what is going to transpire over the week, most likely on Sunday.
All right. Now I want to show uh, everybody kind of try to remember what you just saw with Joe, okay, and carry it with you as we go forward. Because what I want to do right now, a birder lady had sent me an email and she asked me if I would show a sounding. So I'm going to show a sounding at my house, basically. I put in my latitude and longitude,
Did you send a
and
balloon up, Joe?
what I did not send a balloon up, but this is the GFS. This is a sounding for uh, Sunday morning at 7 a.m. So rather than get, I'm just going to kind of give you just sort of the basics here. So on the bottom, you have your temperatures in Celsius from -40 to +50. You kind of hope you never see either one of those numbers in real life. Okay. And to the side, we have the height measured in pressure. So 900 millibars, 800, 700, 600, 500 millibars, which we talk about when we show the maps, the 500 millibar map. Sometimes we'll show the 850. The red line is the temperature, and the green line, which you can see overlaid on the red line all the way up to 200 millibars, are together. The temperature and the dew point. The green is the dew point. So the atmosphere is very saturated all the way up. Now, the surface temperature, and being that I'm not at the bottom would be the ground, okay, but I'm 2,200 feet up, so I'm actually at 950 millibars, and the temperature is forecast. The surface temperature forecast for me is 26 degrees, and you'll notice the slanted lines -20. The dashed lines highlighted -20 and the zero line. The zero line is the most important line, the freezing line. And somewhere from the 850 millibar level up to roughly 700 millibars is what we would refer to as a warm nose. The temperature at that level of the atmosphere is actually warmer than the temperature at the ground. So your precipitation is melting on the way down and then freezing when it gets back below the 32 degree, gets low enough, and therefore you're not getting snow out of this. You're going to get freezing rain or sleet. And I'm showing that to you now because when we go, I'm going to show it one up in the Northeast shortly. So if you take a look at the GFS, and here's your snow area. Now, again, the GFS at 18Z, because it has a flatter look, was a little bit less robust with respect to the precip, so not as impressive as the European. This is what it boils down to is we have a stalled frontal boundary and a wave of what I would refer to as a flat wave, just like an L with one closed isobar that goes along 300
300,
likes.
Joe.
Thank you for the likes. Keep them coming. It's a flat wave that goes by with cold Arctic air to the north and very warm tropical air coming up over that colder air and producing all this precip. So eventually you get a deepening low when it gets way out in the Atlantic. But for us, it's all about the overrunning and the surface wave and how it tracks and whether the track is more to the southeast or a little bit more to the northwest. The GFS is suggesting on this run that the cold high to the north, and Joe made this point yesterday, in cases like this, it's all about the high. That the cold high to the north is trying to, that cold air, the sheer weight of the cold air, the density of the cold air is just basically trying to suppress all of this. Doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong, but it is not it's not an impossible solution. Now, we're going to go to the European, and one of the differences with the European is, if you notice, it's not exactly a flat wave. We actually have a low that's coming out into central Alabama that goes into Georgia. And if you look closely on the map, you've got a couple of closed isobars. There's probably a little low there in West Virginia. And what that's doing is it's basically helping to push warmer air up the eastern seaboard. You don't have a clean wave that is one wave that's going out. You've got what looks like almost a primary low that's trying to go up the Appalachians and a secondary that develops off the Virginia coast. And that's the one that eventually becomes the primary low. Now, one of the things I noticed on the 18Z run is that the prior runs of the European, the last two or three before this one, were, and Dave Tollers picked up on this last night. He discussed it. The features on the models before this run, the low going up the Appalachians was much more obvious, stronger, a little stronger. It's kind of losing it here, and it's got a surface low there off the coast of Delaware, but you're going to wind up getting some warmer air that's going to come up toward the end. You'll notice that you get all that dark blue heavy snow in northern Virginia that plays through all of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and the snow amounts could be relatively uniform along that track. The Eventually, the surface low that develops along the coast becomes the main low and starts to pull away during Sunday night, and then it's gone. And everything is just about over with. So it's really, at least when you look at the European, it's really all about the front end. But I just want to show you uh, I'll pull up a sounding here for. Uh, I'm going to go to central New Jersey, where there is rain at this point on that map, and this is at 7 o'clock Sunday night. If you look at the sounding, 33 is the temperature at the surface. It goes a little bit below freezing, just above the surface, but then it goes above freezing from 900 millibars up to about 700 millibars. So you got rain here. Okay, temperature above freezing on the surface would be in the form of rain. Now you go down into Virginia, you see all that red. I'll pull up a sounding there. This is probably not too far from Richmond, 26 for a temperature. And again, you see the warm nose, but the surface low level cold air gets trapped and the temperatures are down in the mid 20s, and you wind up with freezing rain. Now, on pivotal weather, this is this is one of the snow maps that was produced. This is actually the snow map that takes into account the snow ratios. So from all that Joe showed on the European, you're seeing basically 9 to 11 inches from Delaware all the way up into Connecticut and southeastern New England. Very uniform numbers, Joe. You don't normally see this, okay, in storms, which kind of tells you it's almost like a really supercharged front end thump in a way. And it just carries the strong intensity and keeps it relatively uniform all the way up. I'm not forecasting this. I'm just, illustrating what the model produces, what the model shows on the surface, and then what it produces when you take the numbers with regards to the amount of moisture that it's produced. And it's very uniform, and it's a solid 3/4 of an inch of liquid here that gets produced up until about 7 o'clock. And when you translate it with the ratios, which are not going to be 10 to 1, they're probably going to be more like, oh, this is the 10 to 1 map. I'm sorry. My fault. Thank you, AB, Abadan, Abeded, I always have trouble with your name. AB. Thank you, AB. You're right. I wanted to put the Kuchera map, but on the locals it's not available. But the Kuchera numbers were higher, okay, by about 3 inches or so. We'll have to wait and see how real this all is when we get there, and how much more this is going to change between now and then. But when we look, I'm going to put the surface, so you can see how the surface is going to play out. If I can find the map, it's here somewhere. Where is it? Dew point. All right, you know what? I have to. I'm a little off, folks. I've been looking at maps all day today, and it's like for a while they all start looking the same. And I have the AI.
I know the feeling.
This is the actually the European AI that I have up. So now I'll go to the European. I won't have to do it again. But here's the European's production. That was the AI. The European was basically like 7 to 9 inches from Delaware and Maryland on up into the Boston area through 7 o'clock. And of course, more snow is probably going to fall up there after 7 o'clock in the evening anyway. So those numbers are going to go up. Now I can find that was the 10 to 1. If you look at the Cuchero ratio, you can see those numbers take into account the snow ratios, and you start to get into some big numbers in inland places where you're looking at 12 plus. Again, uh, just trying to give some context to all of this. This is not what I'm forecasting at the moment. Now I want to show you how the model plays it out on the surface, because on these maps here, it's easier to see what happens in terms of the mixing. So here's this is at 1 p.m. on Saturday, and I'm going to move it up. This is 1 a.m. Sunday, and you start to see the light blue snows in central and South Jersey. By the time we get to 7 a.m., this is 7 a.m. now. You see the darker blue snow bands. That's probably moderate snow. In the darker blue, you see from Long Branch and Toms River down to Dover, and a steady snow in and around New York City. The European brings the snow in about 4 or 5 hours faster than the GFS. And when we go through the day, now here you see the mixing that shows up. This is at 10 a.m. Dover, touching Cape May. At 1 p.m., it's sleet. You have rain in the southernmost New Jersey counties. You have freezing rain just inland, back up to about Wilmington and Philadelphia, south and west. And you have sleet at Trenton, Toms River, and Long Branch. And at 4 p.m., we've got sleet and freezing rain over Long Island to about New York City to Trenton. You go north of Bridgewater, north of Yonkers and Bridgeport, it's still all snow there at 4 p.m. So basically 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. And if you want to really tone it down, let's say 7 a.m. till about 2 in the afternoon is when you would put down inch or more an hour snow. So that's when you're going to put down the bulk of all of this, if the European is correct. And then after that, it's done. So by the
I mean,
time it
look at also what amazes me, Joe. I'm sorry to interrupt, but what amazes me is that even in Westchester County, south of 287, you've got the indication on this map of mixing.
yes,
And
and
you
it,
know,
and it's right toward the end of because by after 8 or 9, 7, this is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. By the time we get to 7 o'clock, it's it actually goes back to a little bit of snow between 7 and 10 o'clock, but it's mostly done. So the bulk of the precip is coming when you have the cold air, and what we're struggling with right now is if it's more suppressed, then you would have a longer period of snow, maybe a little less intense, but you'll have a longer period of snow that would last into the night. It would change the character of the system to some extent. So, these are again another variable here in trying to, when you're trying to put together a forecast in attempting to figure all this out.
very difficult indeed. Again, each model has its own set of algorithms that it latches onto and works on. The equations are a bit different with each model, but hopefully the pattern or the overall situation becomes clear enough for all the models to resolve into a general forecast of whatever snow in terms of duration, in terms of intensity. We'll hopefully all see that in the coming next 2 or 3 days. In terms of ratios, I don't think I've ever seen anyone write a paper concerning temperature versus ratio of rain to snow. I mean, we say generally speaking 10 to 1. 1 inch of rain is equivalent to 10 inches of snow. When it gets very cold, though, that's not the case. You tend to get puffier, fluffier snow in a greater or higher ratio. My back of the envelope calculation is 27 to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, you go with 10 to 1. 21 to 26 Fahrenheit, 12 to 1. 15 to 20 degrees, that's very cold now, 15 to 1. And once you get to like 9 to 14 degrees, then just go for 20 to 1. It's very rare that you see around here significant or moderate or heavy snow with the temperatures of around 10, 12, 14 degrees. But whenever that does happen, you get a very puffy consistency like talcum powder. And in that case, you're probably talking at a ratio of better than 15, even 20 to 1. In which case, you look at the standard 10 to 1 snow ratios, like, for example, the European might be saying with 10 to 1, most areas getting 8 to 12 inches. Well, if it's going to be like 10 degrees or 15 degrees, you may want to just double that and go for 16 to 24 or something along those lines. Again, I've never seen anyone write a paper specifically about the temperature of the column, the temperature of the air from the ground up to, let's say, 18,000 or 20,000 feet versus the snow ratio versus rain ratio. But it would be interesting. What you'd have to do is you'd probably have to go through many years of records and get the melted or liquid precipitation and then match that up with the observed snowfall and then do your computations from there with the temperatures. Anyway, that would make make an interesting paper. If I had the time, I'd do it, but I don't have the time, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to make some very rough calculations.
Here's these are the 2 meter temperatures at 7 a.m. So if it's going to be snowing at 7 a.m., it's going to be 15 degrees in New York City, 16 in Trenton, 16 in Philadelphia, 17 in Baltimore, 19 in Washington. And you can see the 20s going all the way down through North Carolina, even though the areas down here would probably be getting sleet and freezing rain. When we get to, I'm going to move it up to, this is now time wise is 1 p.m. 1 p.m. New York City temperature at 1 p.m. is, I think that's, wait, hold on.
13?
Wait. No, I went backwards. I'm sorry. Again, I've looked at so many maps. Okay. So everybody bear me this in mind. This is Saturday evening. Okay. Where temperatures are in the teens. All right. So I'm going to just roll it now to Sunday morning. I'm trying to move a cursor at the same time. So this is Sunday morning. If you want to believe it, Sunday morning, Joe, the temperature at New York City is 9. Right? Yep. 9. 11 at Trenton. So it's going to be snowing. And when it starts snowing, it's going to be 9 degrees. Ice slips at 12. We're looking at Philadelphia at 12, Baltimore 15, Washington 17. And again, 20 is actually going all the way down through interior South Carolina. It's got a 31 for me in North Georgia. So there's that. So now we'll go take it through.
And don't forget also, and you can't really tell 3 and 4 days in advance, but if the air is that cold, the atmosphere may be so dry that we may be getting a few hours of virga before the snow has a chance to even get down to the ground. It may be evaporating in that very dry air. Can't really tell that now, but we'll hopefully have a better handle on that as we get closer to the event as well.
So here's one. This is at 10 a.m. Okay, 13. So, you look at this and you say it's going to be 13 degrees at 10 a.m. and you're telling me it's going to change over to rain. You would think that you'd be crazy. But notice the blues showing up along the New Jersey shore, the darker blues. It's actually up to 26 and 27 right near the shore in central New Jersey. But you still have teens all the way down into northeastern Virginia. And then we go to 4 p.m. All right, this is 4 p.m. Now, this is the point where we're starting to see mixing in New York. The 2 meter temperature on the European, Joe, is 21. Okay. And you're going to have sleet if the model is correct. Ice slips at 24. But look at the Jersey Shore. Tom's River's at 35, 35 at Millville, 35 at Dover. But from Dover to Wilmington in Delaware is not a long drive, 22 in Wilmington. So the cold air is trying to wedge down in these inland areas where the temperatures are just going to struggle. And now we go to 7 p.m. It's 27 at Islip, 24 in New York City. So the temperature never ever gets close to freezing in the metro area. It also in the Philadelphia area, never gets to freezing. It just changes over. The warming is all aloft, and you wind up going to sleet and freezing rain. But in the South Jersey coastal counties, it's 37 on the central New Jersey coast, and Millville is 35. So these coastal counties, Ocean, uh, Burlington County, Atlantic and Cape May County to Salem County, all probably will be raining if the European has its way. And then that's as warm as it really gets because when we get to 1 a.m., temperatures actually New York pops up a little bit to 25 or 24 or 5 and then just holds there by the time we get to 1 a.m. But at that point, all the precip is over with. But you see the stubbornness of the bitter cold air in inland spots. And then one other time frame I want to look at, I want to see how far out this goes. This is Monday into Tuesday morning. Take a look at some of these temperatures Tuesday morning on the European, Joe. This is Tuesday morning on the 27th, my birthday. It has New York City at 6 below zero. Okay.
I don't
Right.
think it's been six. I don't think it's been that cold in like 60 or 70.
This is, it's got -6. Okay. It's going to be a deep snow cover with a north wind. -6, Poughkeepsie -9. Now, bear in mind, I've looked at European temperature maps on the European. It does tend to overdo it, okay, to a large extent. But I mean, this is really, if this verifies, this is brutal. It's got below zero readings. Baltimore -5. It's got a -11 at Washington D.C. and a -21. I don't know what that is in Northern Virginia, northernmost Virginia. Maybe that's Harrisonburg. I'm not sure. -21 there. And below zero readings, even down to Richmond, Charlottesville, Roanoke, and so on. And I think for me, what does it have for me? It's got 20. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with this. What you see from Virginia back through Ohio and all the way up into upstate New York into northern New England. So,
That
and
minus that -21 might be Winchester, Virginia.
Winchester, yes, that's the last. That's near the last exit on 81 before you go into West Virginia for 5 minutes.
Right.
Actually, it's Maryland that you go in for about 5 minutes. You go into that narrow part of Maryland right in there, which has got to be. I wonder exactly how you see where the border almost touches the border of Pennsylvania. What is that like one block? You know, one one street that goes there. Can you
It's
imagine?
kind of like
You
it's
go in
kind
your
of like on
backyard. You go in your backyard. You're in Virginia. I'm sorry, you're in West Virginia. You go into your neighbor's backyard, and you're in Pennsylvania. Go figure.
it's
Scott
kind of
Briller.
like it's kind of like that stretch on 684 in the Hudson Valley where you can go into Connecticut for about a mile. See a little sign entering Connecticut. A mile later, you're leaving Connecticut.
Right, I know, right? And by the way, as far as in the deep south, where we're talking about ice, this is. I'm just going to run this through to Saturday evening. Okay, so Saturday night, you start to see, some of that cold air wedging down. You see it there. You see it through North Carolina, South Carolina, and going into North Georgia. Saturday night into Sunday morning, and temperatures dropping down into the 20s with precipitation falling. That's freezing rain. Scott Briller hit Super Chat twice. Thank you, Scott. Came in twice. The last time Central Park fell below zero actually was February 14th, 2016, when it got to -1.
And I don't think it's been as cold as -6 since the 1940s at Central Park.
You know
Oh,
what, Joe? I would love to see it if only because of the fact that I got into a heated argument with a couple of people, but one person in particular who I blocked off Facebook after that, never wanted to have anything to do with him, um, was convinced that New York City would never see a. This was right before that happened. When that was happening, said that New York City would never go below zero again, ever. And I said, and I immediately took the other side of the trade, and uh, I won that. I won that particular bet when it got to -1. I I prayed. I wanted to get it right. I mean, because that's just ridiculous. The setups for below zero in New York City, they're difficult. You have to have a combination of deep snow cover and a northerly wind blowing down the Hudson Valley when you have the upper air is connected from basically Greenland down through eastern Canada and down the eastern seaboard. And you're going to have that to some extent next Monday night and Tuesday. So uh, whether it gets down that low, I don't know, but that's what the European is saying. It's a very bullish, uh, bullish for the idea of seeing a wide swath of below. Can you imagine if that does happen, Joe? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think the media is going to do with that? With that,
I don't even want to think about it. I don't even,
are they going to walk around and get shots of people freezing in place?
oh, I'm sure they will. That's you and I both. We came from television, and they'll probably pick some poor reporter to stand out there and in the frigid cold. I know. My cameraman was Paul Simone at News 12 Westchester, and one night they sent me outside on a night where the wind chills were like 30 below zero, just to see my face freeze, I guess. So they love to do that sort of thing.
Yeah. All right. I think we've pretty well covered everything that's going on. So
Thank
at
you,
least,
Howard A. or Howarda. February 15th, 1943, Joe, the last time Central Park reached 6 below zero. I knew it had been sometime in the 40s. And there you go. There's the proof of the pudding right there. So
oh yes, we'll see. We'll see after this event happens. Um, oh, Harold Olson said the plumes are up. And they have LaGuardia at 3 inches by the time I can actually pull up the map, the SREF map. Well, instead of putting up the plumes, I'll pull up the SREF map because that'll give us the mean without the noise. So just give me a moment here. Uh, let's see. SREF, which is one of the models that's going away, Joe. We're not going to have le
the plumes,
plumes.
no,
They're not going to have le plumes.
Delebriowski.
Okay, so this is. There you go. So this is as of 7 a.m. I mean, it's got an inch of snow all the way. Well, no, some of this might be what's going on tonight, so I got to be careful here. But in eastern Connecticut, but the 2 inches at Islip is from there, so it already has 2 inches on the ground. This is as far out as it goes, which is 7 a.m. Sunday morning. 2 inches on the ground there, 3 inches at Toms River, 3.2 at Philadelphia, 4.2 at Baltimore, 4.5 at Washington, and then of course, uh, Dave Tollers really took a sucker punch. I mean, because he went from having model guidance that was giving 1.5 feet for Richmond, and then on the very next run, it was gone, zero. But he's sitting with a 1.6 there from Les Plumes. So
And
nothing is
Miss Ballerite brings up a good point. Bring in your pets. Don't leave them outside. Put out put out shelters with haze for strays, along with plenty of dry kibble for extra calories. Yeah, that's the one thing, Renata, with our dog, Mr. Sweeney. We have an entire ensemble of furry and various types of coats and sweaters that he wears, and this is certainly the kind of weather where you would want to protect our fur babies when it gets exceedingly cold like
except
this.
except I'll make one exception. I have friends with huskies, okay? And if you talk to anybody that has a husky, A Siberian Husky, when it gets cold like this, they want to be outside. Okay. My friend's dogs love going outside at night, and they will sleep on the deck because they want to, not because they're being forced to, because they want to. And if you do a little research on the Siberian Husky, the their coats, they literally have like double coats of hair of fur. Uh, Actually keep them comfortable down to 40 degrees below zero. So they actually love being out there in the snow and in the cold. So just putting it out there because I occasionally have seen videos and have heard stories of people have calling the cops on folks that have Siberian Huskies because the dogs are sleeping outside. And they're like, people are like, well, because my dog wants to be outside. He goes to the door and wants to go out and stay out, and they won't even come in. They love the cold. So just putting that out there. You see somebody with a husky, don't lecture them. That's keeping their dog outside. Anyway, that's enough for tonight. We are not going to continue this show to run the Zero Z Nam because it won't
No,
end until 10 minutes of 10, and I'm
no.
simply not going to do that. However, what you can do is tomorrow morning I'll be doing my morning weather in a minute video, which is actually 3 minutes because that's the YouTube limit I have for the shorts. But they are weather in a minute, early in the day, kind of summarizing what the overnight stuff is doing. And then, of course, Joe and I will be back tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. And don't forget, Friday, we're going to have um, Alan Casper, Dave Toleris, uh, Bill Goodman from the National Weather Service in Upton, and Mr. Rayo and I, of course, are going to be here as well because it's our show. So we have to be here. Any last parting thoughts, Mr. Mayo?
No, it looks like we're going to be on for a number of nights to come. So maybe next week, if we take a couple of nights off next week, we won't have somebody like Mr. Fairchild getting all
Bent.
upset and bent out of shape.
Bent out of
It,
shape is the word, Joe. Bent out of
yeah,
shape.
yes.
Um, right, exactly. Oh, I had something I wanted to tell you, and the thought just jumped out of my mind, and I've completely forgotten. It was show related. Oh, how many likes do we have?
349.
Okay, well, we're not going to wait for 400 either, but you can always like the show if you're watching it on the replay. And thank you for those likes. Thanks to those of you who hit super chat tonight. Always appreciated. And for those of you who are new, we were glad to have you here. Hope you like the show. And as I said, we're here usually Sunday through Thursdays at 7:35 p.m. But we are going to be on Friday, and we are going to be on Saturday, and we are going to be on Sunday. So we'll see you tomorrow night. Bye bye.
Bye bye, folks.